They are usually multiple meanings with clades of meaning embedded in these symbols. Various groupings of people over time will take, adapt, enhance, and repurpose these representations of the psyche that we develop and live through. Can you discuss the nature of the symbology that is throughout your movie from both exoteric, external, and esoteric or internal aspect? And will you relate your understanding of the meanings inherent to, grafted on, and in support of, or in opposition to, the overt message that you are attempting to communicate?
Well, I really appreciate that question on a lot of levels. First of all, I love symbols, particularly geometric ones, and it gives us an opportunity to address some of the most popular kind of debunking speculation that is going on the website, particularly around the all-seeing eye that some people are seeing in our poster, and our choice of the 11/11/11 date to come out. So first of all, in terms of the all-seeing eye, I can honestly say no one on the team ever saw that in the poster until some people started commenting on it. And we literally went back to our poster and go, oh my gosh, I can see how there's kind of a triangle there, and there is one eye. But what we had wanted was to represent humanity waking up, and particularly disenfranchised humanity waking up to what's really going on. So we had talked to our people who were putting together the photographic sessions and putting together the art for the poster, and we wanted a woman of color to represent two huge disenfranchised factions as being empowered and waking up. And so we asked for a woman of color who was taking off a blindfold that had been put on her. And we loved the picture, and we loved the poster, and we probably would have rethought it if we had realized that someone would construe that as the all-seeing eye, because it was absolutely not intended. Now that it is there, I mean, it's been somewhat of a distraction. At the same time, it's gotten a lot of people, invigorated into a conversation. And given that it's there already, I like to see it as it's actually a new version of the all-seeing eye, where even the disenfranchised on the planet are now grasping their own power and waking up and standing up for their lives. So that's our truth about the all-seeing eye aspect of the poster. In terms of the date that we came out on, Kimberly, as the CEO of the corporation, was really producing, managing all of the teams, and she asked all of the teams to tell her by when they would be ready to get the film out. Actually, Kimberly, you know this better than I do, so why don't you go ahead and tell the story of how we ended up on that date.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if this is the question. I heard it more having to do with the movie than the release, but I'll finish the answer that, when the team, so as producer, I just said, let's figure out when we can get this out. Of course, we were always in a hurry to have it released, and everybody came back and said November 18th. They thought they could get it out by November 18th, and we looked and said, oh, that's too close to the holidays. We should release it before that. Could you do it 1 week before? And everybody said, yeah, we think we could do it within a week before that, and we looked, and that was 11/11. It's like, oh, great, what a perfect day for it. So it hadn't really been any more profound than that's when we thought we could get it out, and that it was a great day to have a release. And of course, there's all kinds of, awareness about it and other things going on. So it seemed to go well with that. That hadn't been our initial intention. But in terms of the symbology throughout the movie, and that's what I heard that the question was more about. I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit, Foster. Or
sure. Yeah, I was getting to that. Obviously, I have been very enthralled with geometry most of my life, and it's not the 2D plane geometry logic course that we're taught in high school so much as how does nature construct what we call reality. That's what's always fascinated me. So my lifelong quest led to certain core geometries on which the periodic table of elements and the electromagnetic field of the body and the galaxy and so forth are built. And symbols of that are throughout the film, some very overt. When you see the torus over what we call the hologram projector at the center of our navigator, and we're really looking to encourage people to see this fundamental torus pattern that sustains healthy systems at every scale throughout the universe. And as different toroidal systems, particularly in the forms of atoms and molecules and cells and so forth, as they begin to combine, they combine in a logical progression of geometry that reveals what Bucky Fuller called the vector equilibrium, and also the more complex flower of life and so forth. So we had fun putting those kind of as wallpaper. If somebody slows down the film as they go through the various wormholes, you'll see that it's kind of wallpapered with moving animations of what we consider to be the core geometries that we're all made of. So we wanted to embed that sense of the resonant fields, the resonant shapes of which we're made, but there was no intention to subliminally manipulate, nor is there any deep esoteric, hidden meaning of any kind of secret society or hidden coercion involved in that, but more just a celebration of the glorious shapes that we're made of and that we're surrounded by in daily life.
Well, thank you. That's a really wonderful explanation, and I'm glad you got a chance to get your message across with that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Lenny. Jules also has a question on this topic area.
Yeah, thank you, McLaren. Thanks for your answer, Foster and Kim. It's very important that we clarify this because there are a lot of questions out there. Obviously, there are different symbols and there are different levels of symbols. And I think one of the level of symbols people talk about is your use of 12 in terms of the 12 sectors. Obviously, 12 is very esoteric in the world of religion. The 12 disciples of Christ, etc. So the question, I guess, is did you get into developing the actual website itself? How much flexibility or control did you have, and as well into the making of other parts of the the material for Thrive?
Well, that was very central to what we were doing, but not because of any ancient legends or myths or stories, but back to what I was saying before about the fundamental way that nature structures itself. I learned from Buckminster Fuller that it takes 12 vectors to stabilize a center or a hub to a system. So the old English bikes, if you go back before they got really fancy, they always had a minimum of 12 spokes because that's what it takes to stabilize the hub. And that form creates what Bucky called the vector equilibrium. So in the mother geometry, the foundational geometry of any structural system, it always emerges from a hub surrounded by 12 vertices or 12 vectors going from the center out to those vertices. So we were very interested in, when we looked at comprehensively at human endeavor, to try to decide, okay, what is a useful set of titles for sectors of human endeavor that would actually cover the whole scene, the whole reality that we live in. And so we came up with, the obvious of media and education and science and economics and so forth. And we worked with about a dozen other organizations, all of whom were looking to also identify a comprehensive system for human endeavor. And we really did that over a period of several years, coming to final agreement on 12 that seem to work well. Now, obviously, they all overlap with each other. They're all relate as part of an integral whole, but nevertheless, to actually name some particular sectors to look at individually is also really useful. So the that was the basis of our using a 12 around 1 system. I think when we look back and see all of the legends that have the 12 disciples around 1 and so forth, I think that in my research, those stories are more a way of embodying a fundamental mathematical and geometric understanding than the other way around. So, yes, those numbers and geometry were central to our whole sector navigation system, but based on geometry, not on any particular ancient myth.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next topic area will be on balance and infinite growth. And asking these questions is Green Meadow.
Hi there. I learned about the shape of the torus and the shape of the universe from watching a Nassim Haramein lecture. And he said that he observed that anything that breathes in also breathes out. You have expansion and contraction. Based on that, he decided that the universe cannot just expand, it must also contract. He theorized that there was a black hole at the center of the galaxies where matter is consumed and is born. This was later proved to be true. I think you are using your torus as the basic model of how energy moves. Considering the model for the U.S. economy is currently perpetual increasing GDP, how do you apply the torus model to economies or monetary systems?
Well, I think that's a really powerful and wonderful question. I think that we're as a culture, we're going to be exploring that one for the next few decades. I appreciate your bringing it up. And let me just share a few reflections. First of all, Nassim is a close friend and someone that I worked hand in hand with for 6 years. It turned out each of us had spent most of our lives coming to very similar but complementary conclusions. So we decided to work together and bring our different models together, see how they're reconciled, and then apply them. And I think he's done a fantastic job, particularly in the scientific realm, of doing that. In terms of how to apply it for economic systems, a number of ways that the torus shows up for me is that, first of all, one of the key points that we're trying to make in the film Thrive is that at the human level, the torus, the fundamental torus, is the individual, not the group. The group is a secondary concept made up of individuals. But if we consider the group to be somehow senior to or to be more important than the individual, then that ends up justifying violating the rights of the individual. And that has always led to tyranny throughout history, and we're seeing it happen again. So both politically, in terms of social individual rights, the torus is fundamental. But then when we look to see how does that influence economics, economics is really just a fancy scientific name for the exchange that goes on between human beings. And if that exchange is voluntary, in other words, if the torus field of every person's body, every person's mind, and every person's energy field is honored and not allowed to be violated, then, of course, exchanges, which is what economics is, will be voluntary. So no one is going to come and take away some of the money that you worked hard to earn. No one is allowed to come and take away your home. No one's allowed to come and rape your body, because we're honoring the wholeness of every individual. So if we honor the wholeness of every individual, then just like the human body is a complex of toroidal interactions, from the atoms to the molecules to the cells to the field around the body, a natural economy, rather than a centralized, controlled state intervention economy, will be based on the fundamental wholeness of each individual's toroidal field.